Yo, 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 yo. What's up, what's up, what's up? Give up the rack. And hello to my fellow revolutionaries. You know who you are. And can I just say, happy Friday to you. I'm just going to check my sound. Give me 1 second. My sound is not working. Give me one moment. I'm going to test this. Just trying to do something on TikTok at the same time. Testing 1, 2. What about you out there in YouTube land? Can you hear me? Let me know if you can hear me or not. He is back. I am back. And Dr. Nathan, it's good to see you. It's good to see you. I'm getting any sound coming in. It's annoying. Just trying to troubleshoot something. Give me a second. End live. And that's really unfortunate. He sounds well too. Good to hear. I am feeling better. I'm definitely not there yet though. I'm definitely not well 100%, unfortunately. Oh, damn, I don't know how to get this working. That sucks. I'm just trying to run 2 streams at the same time. Just bear with me. Apologies. Oh well. That's really unfortunate. I thought I could do both. Alright, let's see if this works. Testing 1, 2. I'm gonna try that again. It's coming up with something. I'm gonna try that again. I'm sorry to do this live. I'm just trying to learn how to do 2 things at once. Apologies. Alright. One more time. Testing 1, 2. Testing 1, 2. Testing 1, 2. Testing 1, 2. Yeah, I think it works. Holy shit. It's really delayed. Just gonna have to do. Testing 1, 2. Yeah, I think it works. Holy shit. It's really delayed. Just gonna have to do. Too bad. We do what we can. We do what we can. All right. Where the hell was I before I was rudely interrupted by technical issues? Hello, happy Friday. It is the most sacred, well, one of the most sacred days on the working week calendar. It is the eve of the weekend. It is Friday here in the land of Oz. And if that applies to you, then you've made it through another working week. So congratulations to you. And let's just say, I hope you get to enjoy the next 2 days, a time at which capital is not supposed to touch us. So if that is you and you don't have to work over the weekend, I hope you enjoy your freedom from the clutches of the capitalist social relations, and you get to enjoy yourself. If not, if you're going to be working over the weekend, I hope you are graced with penalty rates and graced with some type of special conditions that make it all worthwhile, as we all struggle very hard in this capitalist system to sell our labor power and survive. I think that's the real point here. So on this Friday, I would just like to say I'd like to pay my respects. I'm just going to open the stream chat so I can see it. We can hear you. Thank you, Avalava. I would like to pay my respects to workers, past, present, and emerging. You all know who you are, and it is on your shoulders. It's on your shoulders that the capitalistic world we live in is not only built, but will survive. And so, like, it is because of all of you that we have all of the wonderful things that we have around us. So, yes, thank you to the working people of the world out there. Yo, 4AS in the house. What's up? Give up the Dwayne. Xanthophyll says, hello from Michigan. Welcome. We have foreigners in the house. We have American correspondents. It is good. I'm waiting for more people to do the roll call. Yeah, today, we're going to be looking at doing an interesting stream. Looking at something that I'm not sure if you're across, but you might have seen kind of in the thumbnail. I might give it away. There is something referred to as the No King's Day protests. So I'm not sure if you've actually heard of the No King's Day protests and what the hell that's in relation to, but this is something that is going to be going down hardcore in the US tomorrow. Now, when I say tomorrow, I know that people in the US are still living in the past. And so, like, that's 2 days' time for the Americans. But, like, it's happening on the 14th. Now, what the hell is a No King's Day protest? Well, if you are not aware, Donald Trump has organized a military parade for the 250th anniversary of the US military, and by complete coincidence, that military parade also aligns with his 79th birthday. And so, for the first time in US history, we are going to have a situation where there is a military parade to celebrate the birthday of a US Supreme Leader. Yes, they are going full Democratic People's Republic of Korea on this one. And their Supreme Leader, and I use that word very, very meaningfully and very purposefully, their Supreme Leader is going to have their own full-on military parade for their birthday. It's fucking hardcore, and like, it just is the icing on the cake to all of the discussions that we've been having now for like at least a month about this idea of the neo-reactionary movement. So, in saying all of that, what the hell are we going to be doing? Like as a group, as a society, as I guess Westerners, or people that live in liberal democratic societies, what the hell can we do about something like that? Well, the Americans have gotten together and they've decided to organize protests, I guess you would call them, against the fact that they have a seemingly authoritarian figure that is imposing their will on the American people, which is, becoming more and more evident as the days roll by, but is imposing his will on the American people and using some pageantry, I guess you would call it, that's typically reserved for people that run countries as a dictator. So full military parade. And so the Americans have gotten together and they're using this protest movement called hashtag No Kings. So, like, if you have a look at this scene here, this is the No Kings website. So it's nokings.org if you're interested in having a look. And basically the tagline is, in America, we don't do kings. They've defied our courts, deported Americans, disappeared people off the street, attacked our civil rights, and slashed our services. No corruption has gone too... Sorry, the corruption has gone too far. No thrones, no crowns, no kings. And so, like, I feel like this protest is kind of like a little bit premature in the sense that, like, the stuff that they're associating with the idea of a king is like kind of egregious affronts to certain people's liberties. So, like, talking about deporting Americans and, like, taking people off the street. Sorry, deporting people and taking people off the streets, slashing services, like corruption, like these type of things, are not uncommon in the neoliberal era. So I think it's a little bit of a stretch to just apply to Trump and call him a king because there's corruption and like people are cutting services and there's like an attack on migrants and stuff like that. This type of behavior and like political showboating has been part of liberal democratic societies for a long time now. And it goes in and out of cycles of when this stuff is kind of really popular and used by populists and not. But like this parade though really is the sign of like somebody who has kind of autocratic visions for America. And like you can't take away like all of the context and the evidence that's like kind of surrounding the trajectory to how we got here. Like if you have a look at like someone like Steve Bannon, for instance, who's been speaking very openly about the fact that like they are investigating every legal avenue, of course it's going to be legal, they can to ensure Trump has a third term. Now, unless you were aware of this, because I wasn't until recently, the Americans actually have a term limit. Now, that's the common sense thing that like everybody knows. But the part that like I think most people don't realize is that they didn't always have a term limit on the presidency. So FDR served 3 terms, I think, and I think he started on his 4th until he died. But like before that, it was an honor system. George Washington apparently stepped down and decided not to run for a 3rd term. And so up until that point, every American president, up until FDR, had basically honored the honor system and after their 2nd term, didn't run again for office. So after FDR died during his presidency, Congress actually started passing or changed the Constitution to ensure that no one could do that again. So this didn't happen until like after World War II. But Congress passed legislation to ensure that presidents only have 2-term limits. But there are like special circumstances that might allow that to happen. And so anyway, this is a fairly new phenomenon. And there are special arrangements in place to allow, I guess, somebody to extend beyond the usual legal limitation on a president in the United States. And I have a sneaky suspicion. What about, Avalava in the stream chat on Discord has said, what about Shorts Kings? sad trumpet. No validation for them. But like, I have a sneaky suspicion that someone like Trump, who is already like, look at the LA protests that we haven't had the chance to cover yet, because like my internet's been down all week, and like I'm just hoping that the internet issue is resolved. By the way, I'm really hoping that it doesn't cut out midstream. Apparently, the NBN have fixed it, but like only time will tell. So like fingers fucking crossed. But like, if you have a look, kind of, at what has been going on in LA, Trump has basically been looking for excuses to send in like the National Guard. He's escalated that to sending in the Marines. He's basically looking for excuses to unleash military force on the American people. Now, the pretext for someone doing that is pretty extreme. They'd have to think that like law and order cannot be kind of maintained on the streets. Civil society cannot be upheld, and so like they can take extreme measures like like I said, unleashing the military on the citizenry. But the pretext for that type of stuff is like things like the words insurrection, and we're under invasion. Like the call is that that they're using a lot is that like during Biden's term, was it 13 or 10 to 13 million undocumented people came in. It was a border crisis, and that alone will show you that America is under attack. There is an invasion going on of America right now. And so you can use the pretext of invasion. They believe insurrection. There has been, and you've probably seen it, a lot of footage of people holding Mexican flags and Latina flags, like generally, from like, various Central and South American countries, and like flying them, but like mostly Mexican, flying them while they're protesting in LA. And so like the administration, people, I guess, on the conservative side of the political spectrum are labeling this an insurrection. They're saying these are violent protests, or these are violent gatherings. They constitute riots, not people exercising their civil liberties and their freedom of expression, but they're violent, and they're carrying the flags of foreigners. This is an invasion. This is an insurrection. They're trying to take over LA, and they want to, from the inside out, take over California, apparently. And so you could see how the same language could be used by somebody like Trump to throw out Article 22, I think it is, of the Constitution, and be like, hey, America's at war. We've had 10 million people invade this country. We need to defend ourselves. I am going to call in emergency powers and become the president for a third term, maybe even indefinitely. And so then you start to see a little slogan like this, in America we don't do kings, become a little bit more real in the face of that. And so like, especially like I said, when you have people within the MAGA movement, like very big figures, like your Steve Bannons of the world, who are consistently saying things like, Trump will serve a third term. There's no mincing of words. He's not just like, oh, we're investigating it, we'll see how we go. It's like, we will find whatever means necessary it takes for Trump to serve again. We have an agenda, and it's going to take longer than a usual 2-term presidency to make it happen, basically. So, in light of that, in light of the potentiality for Trump to actually pull this off and become kind of a supreme leader style figure, and in light of the fact that like he's literally, like, he's aligned, I get it. You can argue every day of the week it's completely coincidental. And like Trump himself has completely brushed it off and has said, no, it's not a celebration for my birthday. It's a celebration for 250-year anniversary of the military. And like it happens to be my birthday. But like, the optics of it are pretty, supreme leadery. They're pretty dictatorial. Like, let's have a fancy parade for my birthday. And so we'll have a look at some of the propaganda that has been put out by this campaign, nokings.org. We'll have a little look. And then we'll just go and have a view about kind of what the media or different figures are talking about and what attention they're bringing to and whether or not we think that this should be something that we should kind of be worried about, or if this is a sign of really what's coming. And like I said before, in the context of the neo-reactionary investigation that we have been doing now for the last month or more, this is pretty much it. This is as on the nose as you can get. This is setting the populace up and normalizing the idea of having a CEO king, or just a king, like an autocratic figure, a dictator, an authoritarian ruler as the head of state for the US. And as much as I say it jokingly, the leaders of the free world, Americans, there's still a lot of truth to that joke. There's still a lot of truth to the idea that they uphold liberal democratic values for the planet, really, for the human race. And so if they go down and sanction full-on authoritarianism and normalize it with their people who have prided themselves and developed their own national story on their resistance to kings. And now you have a bunch of I don't know what they are, liberals or people that are just against Trump generally, that are holding up the values of democracy, and the conservatives, the people that really kind of fought for separation, I guess you would say, and the amplification of this American independence. And they're happy to kind of accept this type of stuff, this type of authoritarian pageantry, let's call it, and support it. It's pretty crazy. It's a pretty crazy time that we live in. So let's have a look at their propaganda, just to G you up, and then we'll get a bit of an understanding of why these people are so upset. And then this is actually happening tomorrow, in 2 days' time for us, but tomorrow for 2 day times for the Americans, but tomorrow for us. So probably Sunday our time, and you can stream it here. So I'm thinking if I have time on the weekend, I wouldn't mind doing a No Kings protest actual stream, a watch party, and checking this out. So keep your eyes out for that. If I can, I will try and do that. And then let's have a look at this propaganda. Forrest says, it's almost like these conservatives forgot how their country was founded. And violent insurrection, LOL. I know, right? Violent insurrection, LOL. But you can paint whatever picture you want to suit your political interests. And Dr. Nathan says, honestly, I don't even fear Trump being a king figure. The guy is 80 years old. He won't last long either way. I fear that this will be an excuse to either force him out or take him out. Ooh, what a call. They do that and install J.D. Vance, who is a lot more payable. Yes, to Peter Thiel and the Dark Boys. Yeah, and that's how I see the rift going at the moment. This division between different parts of MAGA. It's, as we've called it, it's the division between traditional red MAGA and the new dark MAGA. And they're looking for a reason to bring in JD Vance. And they'll get it eventually. Pull out the Insurrection Act and don't hold elections again. All hail Supreme Leader Vance. There it is. All right, so let's have a look at their propaganda and see what they have to say for themselves at nokings.org.
Every day across this country, something powerful is happening. People are rising for each other, for democracy, and for our collective freedom. We have chosen not to live in fear or let division destroy this country. We believe in something bigger than ourselves and the promise of freedom and justice for all. But now, our rights and our freedoms are under attack. We can point fingers or we can take action. This spring, millions of us united for one of the largest peaceful protests in the history of the United States. Together, we told Trump and his billionaire administration to keep their greedy hands off our healthcare, our veterans benefits, our public lands, our rights. Courage is contagious, and now we're taking to the streets again on Saturday, June 14th for No King's Day. While Trump wastes tens of millions of taxpayer dollars on a military parade for his birthday, acting like a wannabe king, people in every state have organized over 1,800 events in their communities to uphold democracy and protect our rights. People standing side by side for the future we all deserve. We don't do kings in the United States. We believe power belongs with the people. Join us on Saturday, June 14th. Go to nokings.org to find the protest near you.
So, what do you think? Do we join them? Like, I would really like to, if I get a chance, like I said, watch the stream and like see where it goes. I wouldn't mind watching the actual military parade either, just to see like what Trump is actually up to. Like if it's going to be like him, just like doing the dictator wave kind of thing as the military come past, and like big celebration, massive cake cutting event. Someone will come out of the cake, all for the president, etc., etc., etc. So we'll see what that's like. JD is our age. You're looking at a long-term king. Yeah, that's a good point as well. Yeah, he's I think he's like just 40 or something like that. So like, yeah, he's perfect ruler age for a long stay. Saying F you to the big, beautiful Bill. Ollie Atlas is here. There we go. He's here for the roll call, as always. Good to see Ollie Atlas. Indoctrinathan, seriously lib-coded. Lib Dems always with the positives comments on the Brit crown, queen, and king, though, in the comments sections. That's pretty funny, actually. That's actually a good point. Yeah. Everybody loves a little bit of royal drama. They love to get in on it. But, like, as long as it stays in the UK. 4AS, no, I want him to do his little Trump dance. Yeah, well, maybe he'll be just doing that for, like, 2 hours or something as the parade rolls in. Would be good way to spread revolutionary thought to normal folks. What would be? Exactly. Please don't divulge. But like this type of stuff does like kind of galvanize people, and get them really thinking about like what matters to them and like, what they should be upset about, especially if they're concerned. But like check out this map though. Yeah, joining them. Yes, it would be nice. It would be a good way to spread. Like, but look at this map. Like, so the propaganda says there's like 1,800 sites or something like that across America that have like this like made the call that they are organizing their own protests. So like that's like anything from like a small group of people to like thousands of people that are going to rock up to a certain area to protest. But like look at that. That's mental. It's a lot of people protesting about this. A lot of people upset about like what's going on like with Trump and stuff like that, generally. And on No King's Day, or on the celebration of the military's 250th anniversary, aka Trump's birthday, like tell me in the comments, but like I don't buy the whole it's a coincidence thing. Like it's obvious that he's picked that day because it was his fucking birthday. Like I know there's a lot of people that are just like, it could have been any day. It was just lucky that it was on his birthday. But like, I don't buy that. I don't buy the whole, it was just a fortunate or unfortunate coincidence. I'm not a big fan of that idea. So like, let's have a look at some really important stuff coming out from a new platform that I've got my hands on. Some of you may be aware of it, but it's going to be it's a game changer. Let me tell you that much for free. Where are you? Video capture device. This is going to stop us from having to deal with ads, I think. And so, like, this is a suggestion that has come from none other than Avalava, and it was a fucking sick suggestion. So, like, I just got to figure out how to make it work properly. Because, like, I had multiple windows open. There we go. So let's have a look at... Yeah, let's have a look at what the Wall Street Journal has to say about this first, shall we? And then we get like some context as to what this military parade is all about, and like, you know, what it's got to, like what any relation it actually has to like, I guess, Trump's actual birthday and stuff like that. But like, yeah, let's have a look. And Dr. Nathan, the people on the streets now are the groups that should be organizing it. They are the real revolutionary groups that have been doing work since BLM. And when you see the people on the streets, are you talking about the people on the streets that are protesting about like the ICE raids that are going on? Like that's a whole like topic that I guess we really should touch. Like if I was able to during the week, we would have had like probably multiple streams on the LA riots. But like if anyone has any propaganda that they like desperately need us to watch on the LA riots, like put it in the stream chat. But like the LA riots, the LA, whatever you want to call it, the LA protests, the insurrection, the invasion, like as far as I can see, and like here's my 2 cents on it, but like I'm sure everybody's got their own 2 cents on this one, because we all consume a lot of propaganda by the look of it, the way that we like populate the Discord. Everyone's constantly sharing stuff and some pretty crazy shit that we've been sharing in Discord as well. We've seen some crazy stuff there. So if you're watching this and you're not in on what we're talking about, and you want to know, or you want to be part of the Discord propaganda machine, I'll put this in for you now. This is an invitation to the Discord if you're interested. And that's how you can talk with us if you want to get in on that, or just see all the stuff that we're sharing. But like the downside is people treating these protests, these movements as a game or an opportunity to make themselves look good. You know, like it's like that's just everything. Like when it comes to these type of political movements and stuff like that, you have like opportunists that will basically make themselves look good off something by association, or they can make themselves look good by like denouncing it. Like it just happens politically. It's just the nature of the beast, isn't it? But like it's unfortunate it has to be like that, because protests really are about people that are like suffering grave injury and loss and harm, and like people are just opportunistically feeding off that. But like, you know, nothing unusual there. In Dr. Nathan, they are not riots. They are peaceful protests, and it's important to get that language right. They will take any chance to paint them as violent, when the only ones who are the cops. That's what drives wokeism. Yeah, like taking things away from, I think, their material reality and focusing on the optics of it. Like, whose political side of the aisle are you going to sit on for this one? Yes, that's exactly what drives wokeism and the worst of ID poll. But like, look, I'm going to challenge you on that one, Indoctrinathan. Because like it's not entirely peaceful. Like there are people that are doing things that are disturbing the peace or what have you, and like are destroying property and setting things on fire and like, you know, throwing rocks and like, you know, general kind of dissenting behavior. And like, I'm not saying that's wrong. I don't think that like people should be curbed in their expression as citizens. I think it is every citizen's right to be able to express themselves in a public setting. If the state has the right to use force on its own citizens when it deems necessary, those citizens are able to use and match force or the same style of expression or intimidation as the state is allowed to imply in those circumstances. And so like if they are both, you know, saber rattling or beating their chests kind of thing. I think like the protesters, whether they're peaceful or not, and in this circumstance, like you can see that people are pissed off and they're using their physicality as part of their expression. I think they're fully allowed to do so. I think they should be using their physicality to show that they are not going to be intimidated by the state and the state apparatus, because like that's the only thing that can resist this type of potential authoritarian and dictatorial behavior that we've been discussing, is like people who actually will put their body on the line and use their own physicality to face and stand up to the physicality of the state. So like, I get what you're saying, but like, it's not all peaceful. But like, I think what a more important point is that if it's not all peaceful, it's definitely been manufactured in that way. Like, I think the protests have been ridiculously inflamed by additional shows of force by the state. And if like those additional show of force wasn't there, then like you wouldn't have people going more extreme in their behavior and feeling like they have to express themselves more overtly than just being peaceful about stuff. Ah, yes, no more capitalist commodity propaganda, at least a little bit. Yes. I thought you would appreciate that, Avalava. We'll see how it holds up, okay? But it's so far it's doing the same job. So I'm proud to be using it. All right, censored comments. Someone's been censored. Okay, honestly, I'm not a big fan of the organization putting it together. They're democratic apologists and liberal crime merchants. They have no idea what they're going to get into. Are you talking about the people that are organizing this, the nokings.org people? It's funny that you say that. Let's have a look at who their sponsors are, actually. These are the people, I don't know if you can see all of that. I think I changed the view. A little bit. So I'm going to have to just make that smaller so it captures. So I don't know all of these. Like these are the types of organizations: Education, Healthcare, Public Services, Activate America, the ACLU, American Humanist Organization, Americans for Financial Reform, Americans for Tax Fairness, the Don't Frack Your Mother group, Bernie's supporting it, Climate Defenders, the Color of Change, the Center for Biological Diversity, Common Defense. That looks like fucking the what are they? The thin blue line people that defend the coppers. The Debt Collective, the Cross Union Retirees Organization, Faithful America, Fix Democracy First. Yeah, that's a pretty good one. So like, yeah, I'm assuming what you're talking about is like these are all largely liberal organizations that are supporting a protest like this, I think, or like organizing this. I think I got censored before. Did I say a no word? Yeah, probably. Is it Voltutter? I hope I've said that right. Welcome to the stream. I'm not sure if I've seen you before. And Sylvia Conrad, have you been here before either? Welcome to the chat, for both of you, or to the stream if you've never been here before. We're all lovely people. We don't bite hard. So if you want to be in on the conversation and you're getting censored, please don't bomb the chat with the same censored comment over and over again. Eventually YouTube censors us and kicks us all off. So like go onto the Discord and like write in the censored comments and we can have a look there. Old gaming name from the early 2000s. Okay, so I'm assuming I've said it right. But yes, Voltutter, welcome. And like I said, if you want to join and if you are being censored, we have a solution for you. So yeah, Indoctrinathan says, yep, but you gotta radicalize people by showing them the absolute imbalance of power. No kings. Yeah. Okay, so we are talking about like this is just like some liberal organization. Look, and like, you know, let's be honest. That's why I said like before, like these people, like their motto, they've defied our courts, deported Americans, disappeared people off the streets, attacked our civil rights, and slashed our services. Like, that's not really king shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is just the same type of problems that have been happening under years of like neoliberal mandate, like decades of neoliberal mandate. So, like, it's not really kingmaker stuff. But, like, you know, the acts themselves, like, you know, having a military parade on your birthday and, like, you know, looking for any reason possible to extend your presidency up beyond what is constitutional or deemed constitutional. And, like, sending in the armed forces to deal with your own citizenry. Like, it's that type of material behavior that, like, we really should be, like, speaking about. Like, why have they not talked about that here? Like, if they were fair income about, like, kings and stuff like that, they'd be, like, listing that shit. But, like, I get what you're saying. Like, it feels just like kind of, like, general liberal kind of fantasy stuff where it's just like, oh, we need to demonstrate against this. And, like, saying no kings just is a nice catchphrase, as opposed to something that has, like, real meaning behind it. Like, in the sense of, like, the neo-reactionaries that we're worried about. Like, I think that, like, is really scary, kind of, like, king-making territory that we're going down here. I think I got censored before. No, sorry, I already read that. Xanthophile says, look at what they're doing to Palestinians. How should protests be done at this stage? Well, like, see, that's actually funny that you say that, because, like, I think they're going to use this now. Like, because I think the governor of Texas or something like that, because there's been protests there, the governor of Texas actually invited the National Guard in and was just like, no, like, you know, send the troops in kind of thing. Like, we need to protect federal property and all that sort of stuff. So, like, they're going to use this kind of as a pretext. Like, we've overridden one governor. There's other governors out there that have asked for this type of stuff. And so what's going to happen is now they've tested the waters with, like, the LA protests. They're going to be able to use them on things like people protesting against Palestine. And when the universities don't do as, like, Trump asks, and they don't, like, I don't know, immediately quash any anti-Israel protest or something like that, they'll send in the National Guard next. That's what's going to happen. Like, this is just kind of the wedge for them to, like you're saying, roll the National Guard out, like, use the military as a tool of the federal level executive arm's political interests. It's scary shit. It's really scary shit. And so, like, I don't know why they're not listing that here. Like, why wouldn't you say that? Like, yeah, people being disappeared off the streets and, like, attacking our civil rights and stuff like that. Like, that's important. But, like, a king will use their military against their own people if possible. And I think they should, you know, I think they should call that what it is. Like, use that as your line, your slogan. This is what sucks about the left generally. And unfortunately, I'm including liberals in on that. Is that, like, we suck at slogans. We really suck at, like, you know, being able to get a good message across in a very concise way to capture the image of something. Like, we really need to work on that. Like, Lenin would be turning in his grave if he knew what, like, the modern left was doing in terms of, like, using its ability to capture people's hearts and minds with good slogans. Like, he was the king of that shit. And so, like, yeah, he would be very upset. Indoctrinathan has been censored again, so I'm going to read that one out. Lib, and Bernie blamed the protesters the other day. Bro did the same shit back in the civil rights area. I thought I saw that come up on my feed. I didn't watch it. But, like, yeah, I've heard that Bernie has, like, turned his back on the protesters. Can someone, like, verify that? Does anyone have a link for that? Because, like, that's pretty unfortunate, I must say. But, like, from my understanding was, like, he was calling out people that had, you know, been violent kind of thing. You know, quote unquote. And, like, again, I'm not denying, like, let's look at the material reality. There are cars on fire, self-driving ones, which is fucking hilarious. Take that, surveillance capitalists. the car's on fire, there's property damage, like all of that sort of stuff. But like the real question is it commensurate with the force that is on display by none other than the state? The state that is like basically squashing its citizenry at the moment. Pius Jacob, also known as Ollie Atlas, has said, as an American, I'd like to say that the bigger the city, the more corrupt the cops. There you go. In smaller towns, cops are members of the community, not figures defined by their authority. Yes. And like if Jag was here, he would be like talking about, because as a New Yorker, like he fucking hates the NYPD with a passion. And they seem to be like, rent a cop kind of thing. Like they're people that are brought in, like members of the military, to kind of like really, they're like disassociated and alienated from the people that they're like enforcing the law on. So like they're detached and like they use force indiscriminately and they seek joy in it because like they're not connected to the community at all. I think it's a good point, Ollie Atlas. Damn, YouTube's going hard today. Check the CC. Yeah, you're getting done, indoctrinated. I don't think we can really talk about this topic. I think that's why we have to be careful. Voltutter says, oh, wait, I missed someone. Sylvia Conrad, I'm so glad that Trump is our president. If you don't like it here, move. That's fucking hilarious. Sylvia, I hope you're still there. Because, like, I'm not sure if you can tell by my accent, but, like, I'm not in America. So, if you're glad that Trump is your president, then good on you. And, like, please, to divulge as to what it is exactly that you like so much about old Trumpy boy. And I hope you're going to his birthday celebrations. I hope you are. I hope you really enjoy it too. Voltato says, yeah, and if Trump is successful, I can see similar things happening in other Western countries. I already see people in my life echoing right-wing think tanks. Yeah, that's pretty scary, isn't it? I'm from NZ. Welcome to our brothers and sisters in arms from across the ditch in NZ. Welcome. Yeah, look, it's true. That's what I'm saying. Like, I've said multiple times, like, it does really matter what happens in America in the political scene because, like, I say it jokingly all the time, but they really are the leaders of the free world in a liberal democratic sense. And like once liberal democracies go out the door for them, it goes out the door for a lot of us. And like we're gonna have to come to terms with that, like big time. Indoctrinated, nope. Cops burnt those Waymos. Oh, really? They shot tear gas near them and caught on fire. The protesters just vandalized them. Yeah. Fair enough. And like you've been unearthing some crazy footage that like I haven't seen in the Discord from those protests and stuff like that. So like very interesting. Very, very interesting. You seem to be actually more across it than most. So you can be our investigative reporter when it comes to the LA protests. I mean, not call them riots. I know that riles you up. Ollie Atlas, in smaller towns, police are much kinder and do more regular folks, while city cops serve the big guys. Yeah, well, they really serve the interests of capital first. Because, like, what's the real, like, subtext behind sending in the National Guard and stuff like that? It was to get the city, like, instill law and order. Like, they shut down LA. Like, people shut down LA. Peacefully or not, whatever. They shut down LA. And, like, you can't shut cities down in a capitalistic environment. Like, people have private property interests in LA and they have an economy to run. And so, like, they needed to bring in law and order so people could get back to work and making money and stuff like that. So, like, like, really, behind all of this is that usual capitalist story that we're always going on about at this channel. And we'll never stop going on about it too, can I just say. Sorry, in smaller towns, police are much kinder and do more for regular folks. Yes. Indoctrination been terminally online the last week. Yeah. And you found some nuggets, some gold you have. All right, so where was I? I was about to showcase my new toy. which is the wonderful FreeTube. Let's have a look at this. Yeah, Wall Street Journal video. And like, this gives us some context for what's coming up. And like, yeah, any Americans that are listening to this, so that's you, Xanthophyll, and Ollie Atlas, and anyone else who's in the background, maybe even Sylvia, that'd be good. Sylvia Conrad. Like, anyone actually going to go to one of these No Kings protests? Or alternatively, does anyone know anyone who's going along to the military parade itself? They're expecting hundreds of thousands of people to like rock up to this military event or parade. So let's have a look what they say.
The streets of the nation's capital are set for a giant military parade.
Saturday is going to be a big day in Washington, D.C. You know, a lot of people said, we don't want to do that. I say, yeah, we do. We want to show off a little bit.
The event is expected to feature about 6,600 soldiers, 150 vehicles, and 50 aircraft in celebration of the Army's 250th birthday. President Trump, who will also be celebrating his birthday, will preside over the parade from a grandstand, a move that's prompting backlash and counter-protests.
We're celebrating the Army on Flag Day, and it's not my birthday. It is my birthday, but I'm not celebrating my birthday. I'm celebrating Flag Day. It happens to be the same day, so I take a little heat.
The parade is...
I take a little heat. I love a little bit of heat. I love it when it's hot. Balava says, there is a theater mode in FreeTube to get rid of those recommended videos on the right. Oh, that's good to know. Thank you. But like, I'm not going to dabble with that right now, but I am going to get rid of this. You're right. I forgot to change the settings. Let's get that a bit bigger so people actually see it. That would be nice if people could actually see this properly. Sorry. Give me a moment. How unprofessional. All right. Let's go back, shall we? Back to it.
Is expected to cost the Army anywhere from $25 to $45 million, and millions more will be spent on security, personnel, and other costs. So here's a breakdown of what's involved. Bringing together equipment and uniforms from the U.S. Army's 250-year history, officials say the parade will celebrate all eras of the country's oldest military branch.
It's going to cost a little bit of money, but we're getting training value out of this, but also we get to tell our story.
Some of the heaviest equipment was brought in from Fort Cavazos in Texas. It was transported by rail before being transferred to trucks and staged near the National Mall. The Army declined to say how much this effort cost. The equipment includes Paladins, which are self-propelled howitzers first introduced in the 1960s, M1A2 Abrams tanks, and Bradley fighting vehicles, which move on tracks and were first used in combat during Desert Storm, Strikers, which are 8-wheeled armored vehicles that were used extensively in Iraq and Afghanistan, and infantry squad vehicles, which are newer and faster lightweight trucks. There will also be old-school touring cars, jeeps, and even a cavalry horse detachment. The vehicles, many weighing tens of thousands of pounds, will drive down Constitution Avenue. To protect the streets, steel plates have been placed where the vehicles will need to pivot. But if the pavement gets damaged, the Army says it's prepared to pay millions for repairs. The Army is also planning a paratrooper demonstration, a fireworks display, and a series of flyovers. Aircraft include Chinooks, Blackhawks, and Apaches. Each of these cost about $5,000 to $8,000 per flight hour, according to a Pentagon document. The parade could also feature historic aircraft like the B-25 Mitchell and the P-51 Mustang. The Army also had uniforms produced to replicate what troops wore going all the way back to the Revolutionary War, though the Army didn't respond to questions about the cost. Officials say the parade will be worth it because it'll be a giant recruiting opportunity, and it's expected to end with an enlistment ceremony.
Overall, this is like a big recruiting event, telling the story of the U.S. Army and its rich...
Look at this guy. Seriously, where do they get these characters from, right? Like, honestly, it's just going to be great. It's going to be a big recruiting event. Like, what a character, hey? Military spokesperson over here. This is the comms team in action. U.S. Army. Love it. Absolutely love it. Why not? Hey? Let's continue, shall we?
history, its rich heritage that's existed for 250 years.
Another cost, the troops themselves. Thousands of soldiers were bused or flown in for the event. They're staying in 2 government buildings near Capitol Hill from about June 11th to June 15th. Officials say they're sleeping on cots, eating packaged meals called MREs, and getting a per diem of $69 a day. While they're living on modest Army means, the per diem alone could cost nearly $2 million. And then there are steep security costs for the parade, which has been deemed a national special security event.
We're preparing for an enormous turnout. Hundreds of thousands of attendees. It is our duty to ensure the safety and security of every participant.
Hundreds of thousands, you've heard it. Hundreds and thousands. Millions of people. It's going to be outrageous. All right, let's have a look. What has Volt Utter said? Apparently, there are ads on places like Craigslist that have listings for crowd fillers in the parades. Saw a clip on Insta and didn't give it. That's crazy. If that's true, that's crazy. Hey, Craigslist. You can organize a lot of shit on Craigslist, apparently, in America. Hey, dirty Americans. Hey, get crowds together. Hey, get a few strangers together for anything. Even military parades, I am told. Avalava says, there is a theater... Oh, wait. I already saw that. Nice. They get to tell their story of imperialism and destruction. 250 years of death. What an amazing thing to flaunt. Yeah, it is pretty funny, isn't it? And so, like, I'm assuming then that, like, this is 250 years of the American Army, the U.S. Army, and that's because they were established then at a time before they were even a nation. So 250 years of death. So, like, you could argue that, like, in the beginning of their history, the very beginning of their history, it was, the type of death is like, they were looking for liberation. So they were a liberation army to begin with, and then they turned into an imperial army of destruction after that, and imposing their will and through intimidation and actual force throughout the world to ensure that, like, the capitalist system could continue to work on its peripheries and feed all of the real capital and the real value back to the imperial core. So yeah, what a story to tell, and like what a G up to get people to want to sign up to the military. Any Americans, or even any people that aren't Americans, feeling like they want to join the army when they see a dude like that talking about it. Indoctrination has put in the stream chat. Looks like Bernie deleted the tweets, but it's in the first 30 seconds of this video. Hypocrite. Oh, look, Hassan's calling out Sanders. Dun, dun, dun. Well. Here it is. We will get to that then. We will get to that. All right. Back to the Wall Street Journal.
The Secret Service, the FBI, the National Guard, and several law enforcement agencies are all playing a role. The effort involves 18.5 miles of anti-scale fencing, 17 miles of bike rack, 175 magnetometers, and multiple drones. There will also be costs to the city and its businesses, including closed streets, a temporary suspension of flight traffic, and overtime pay. When similar events like inaugurations take place, it can cost D.C. $30 million or more. Some of the president's own Republican allies in Congress have expressed concern about the parade's costs, and a recent poll found that 6 in 10 Americans think the parade is not a good use of government money.
Thank you, Wall Street Journal. Objective reporting, as always. So yeah, anyone else think that this is a waste of American taxpayer money? Tens of millions of dollars on a parade to ostensibly celebrate the 250 years of the U.S. Army, but realistically, like, it's a big birthday bash for old Trumpy, the 47th. What are magnometers for? That's a really good question. I don't know. Maybe they have to have them at, like, points where people enter into the event. Are they like metal detectors or something like that? Let's ask my research assistant. Let's ask my research assistant. The old faithful ChatGPT in the flesh, ladies and gentlemen. Hello. We are currently investigating the military parade for the 250th anniversary of the US Army, and apparently there is a large use of magnetometers. Do you know what this is for? Okay, they're commonly used in large public events, especially high security ones, for security screening purposes. They're devices that detect metal objects. In security context, they function much like metal detectors. Weapons detection, public safety. Oh yeah, with a lot of military and government officials around, crowd control. Helps streamline entry and ensures everyone passes through a uniform screening process. Terrorism prevention. At checkpoints or gates leading to seating areas. VIP or restricted zones. Interesting. There you go. Yeah, it makes sense. Ollie Atlas says, in response to Voltator, says, that's sad. Doge is hypercritical. Indoctrination. Hence why they're delaying the National Guard and that. It's a distraction point to say, look how much these riots cost us. Yeah, that's a really funny point. I hope they start bringing that up. So, like, you can talk about, like, well, you know, what's the point of these military parades then? It seems like a bit of a waste of money. I'm sure Doge is really upset about that. My heart bleeds for the Doge people. Let's see what Trumpy boy has to say about it, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see. Trump warns any protest at military parade will be met by very big force. It'll be big. It'll be bulbous. Let's check it out, ladies and gentlemen.
I just think it's amazing. We're going to have a fantastic June 14th parade, Flag Day. It's going to be an amazing day. We have tanks, we have planes, we have all sorts of things. And I think it's going to be great. We're going to celebrate our country for a change. You know, recently, as you know, with World War II, the victory of World War II, I called up France and they were celebrating the victory. Well, we helped them a lot, as you know. I don't have to get into that. But I called up other countries. They're all celebrating the victory. We're the only country that didn't celebrate the
We were talking about this. Like, it's a funny point, don't you reckon? Like, the Americans don't celebrate Victory Day. And, like, the Europeans were going off celebrating Victory Day. And, like, you know, basically the downfall of the Nazis. And, like, you have him, like, Mr., you know, head of the neo-Nazi movement, like, directly or indirectly. I'm not accusing him directly of being a neo-Nazi, but he's definitely their champion, if you know what I mean. Being like, yeah, why the fuck don't we celebrate it? Like, you know, we should. And so, like, his argument is like, why don't we ever get to celebrate our military? You know, why don't we ever get to have these big, nice parades like all the other Europeans do when they get all their, like, toy soldiers out and their shiny stuff? That's bullshit. Why can't we do it? But, like, you know, I still want to know why the fuck the Americans don't celebrate Victory Day. Like, my sneaking suspicion and my tinfoil hat assessment of that one is that because they'd have to acknowledge that communism was a big factor in, like, settling World War II. And the Americans relied heavily on communist forces to not only wipe out the Nazis for them, and then they just cleaned up afterwards, but they also called on the communists to come in and deal with Japan afterwards. They were like, look, you Russians, don't think you're getting out of this just because you were the ones that wiped out the Nazis. We need you over there in the Pacific too, coming down on the Japs. All right? So, like, you know, I think celebrating Victory Day in America has got a lot to do. And like, we don't even do it in Australia. Like, it's pathetic. All the Anglosphere countries don't really celebrate it. I think the UK does. But like, you know, actually we got a New Zealander in here. Do you guys celebrate Voltatur? Do you guys celebrate Victory Day? Do you have big military parades and all that sort of stuff? Avalava says, I wouldn't be surprised if there ended up being large crash accident during the parade, given the recent track record. When you say large crash/accident, do you mean like someone like running a vehicle into this place? Because, like, you know, there's a lot of vehicles that are going to be around there. Like, here's my real Just Anzac Day. Us too. Yeah, thanks for confirming. Oliana says, well, why do empires and dictatorships show off military? Except the USSR was struggling until D-Day. They were struggling. They were, don't get me wrong. But like, when it come to the Eastern Front, like, they made all the way to Berlin and past Berlin before the Allies got in on that one. And like, once they crippled the Nazis, it was pretty much the end of it. It was just clean up crew stuff after that. Not to take away from the Allies. I know everybody likes the old Allies. God damn, YouTube hates me today. I'll open up my censored stuff. Same. Had a tame comment censored about the military. Come and join the Discord if you're over there. Oh, you are. There it is. LOL was censored. What the fuck? Voltatur says, right-wing creators like to complain about the military-industrial complex, but are silent when it comes to increased funding and wasteful spending that is always increased by right-wing parties. It's a pretty good fucking point. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting how they talk about the military-industrial complex, actually. How they talk about it. How, like, they pretend to hate it. I wonder why. Man, I'm getting screwed over big time on like my on my TikTok account at the moment. It's not letting me do this. That sucks. It thinks that I'm plagiarizing from myself. It's ridiculous. It's outrageous. It won't let me restream the way that I'm doing it on TikTok because it thinks I'm stealing information from myself as a content creator, which is it's just outrageous. I'm going to end the stream. Sorry, give me a second. Oh well. I'm going to have to figure out another way around that. Too bad. Indoctrination. Let's have a look at your censored comments, you bad man. All these weapons they used in the Middle East are coming home to be used on their own. You hear Trump's pulling everyone out of the Middle East. Plus, Israel is rumored that they are going to hit Iran's nuke facilities. Yep, everyone's gearing up. The Israelis are going to attack Iran. That'll be the next one. And yes, all of the military stuff, all the tactics and like tactics and the tech, let's say, that they use on like the forever wars on the fringes of the empire. So like in the Middle East, yeah, they're coming home and bringing that to use on the citizenry. So, that's not unusual. And I heard, what's his name? Chris Hedges and Hassan the other day had a little meeting. I watched that. And they described this interesting phenomenon, which is fascism is actually colonialism. So the kind of warfare and the suppression of cultures and civilizations on the edges of the capitalist world machine. Fascism is the inversion of colonialism. So like you use authoritarianism and like military suppression on the edges of the capitalist machine. And then like you learn all of the tactics and all of like the playbook kind of stuff from colonialism, then you bring it home, and like that's what fascism is like using that type of colonial playbook on your home soil and on your own people. It's an interesting kind of interesting theory about like the relationship between colonialism and fascism and stuff. Sabres are vigorously shaking right now. Yeah. LRADs and MRAPs on the streets of LA right now. What are these acronyms that you're using? Please divulge a little bit. So yeah, look, I was cutting off Trump, but like I just wanted to give you, before I got sidetracked, I was going to give you my big kind of conspiracy theory take on all of this. Now, let's just say, you know, Trump's already kind of invoked the right of the executive to call in the military on use of the citizenry, and like he's gotten all of this military equipment to the Capitol. All right, he's able to get 6,600 troops to the Capitol. I'm assuming they are of the loyal variety, and they are being officiated by military types that are of the loyal variety, I'm assuming. And there is a lot of vehicles, a lot of aircraft, all in the Capitol. Okay? Like, if these protests, what did he say? We're going to use big force. Okay? If these protests, these No Kings protests, spill over into Washington, D.C., which the organizers of this event, the No Kings protests, have encouraged people not to go to Washington, but to go to Philadelphia instead. If these people spark a reaction like we've seen in the protests in LA, there will be good reason for Trump to turn around and ask the military, with all of their capabilities, to do something in Washington at that time. That's right. That's right. There already are tanks in Washington. And like, let's be honest, like you can't just get rid of all of these armored vehicles and this military presence in like 12 hours. You don't just like strike the set and everybody goes home. It's taken a while to get all of the military equipment in to the Capitol. They've been bringing it in on trains and all that sort of stuff. So like he's going to have at his disposal for at least a week or more access to a military force inside the Capitol. Now, like if you look at the history of this type of stuff, okay, like typically if like a dictator, like a Caesar type, let's say, wanted to bring a military into the nation's political capital, like they'd have to march on it from the outside. They'd actually have to march on it in a civil war style of posturing. Now, like this type of military parade is like the same level of marching on a capital or a political city as like anyone else has done throughout history that has taken over places by marching loyalist forces into them. Like it's all there on a silver platter. It's just like not actually being said. Like, so you can take that with a grain of salt. You can call it wild tinfoil hat stuff if you want. But all I'm saying is all of the ingredients are there to whip together a military takeover. Just saying. Just saying. It's an interesting thing to think about. Because like when he's been giving his little rallies as well and speaking behind troops and all that sort of stuff in the lead up to this event, like he's making sure, or his teams of people make sure that the audiences are full of people that go absolutely nuts when he starts talking about like, you know, patriotism and like what he's doing to help America and, you know, all that sort of stuff. So like, you know, he's not getting booed by these military types when he's speaking politically, which they would be within their rights to do so, but like you don't see that happening. So Trump, June, coup, who knows? Like, I'm just saying, like, it's all there. The building blocks are there. You just need something to trigger it. And so, like, talking about, like, these loose libs of these no kings kind of organizations that, like, you know, organize this type of stuff and, like, rally all these people together. Like, if they don't control their kind of emotions and, like, they make this into a personal vendetta against Trump, as opposed to, like, you know, a general march against the attack on democracy itself, then, like, you know, they are playing into his hands. Like, the authoritarian playbook, we watched it, we've studied it. He's very clear on this type of stuff. You just need a reason to bring in the military and use force, and they're all being set up right now. It's all set up there, ready for the taking. I lived through the 2007 coup in Fiji. This reminds me of the build-up to that. That's pretty fucking crazy, man. That's fucking crazy. I'll have to ask you about that one day. 4AS. So this is how liberty dies, with thunderous applause. Yes. And, like, you know, hundreds of tanks, 6,000 troops, and like a couple of hundred types of aircraft. Another one, Voltaire. These companies need slave labor. If you can't do it your own people, then you use others for slave labor. The capitalist owners use fascist talking points to achieve their exploitative practices. 100%. 100%. I can't believe you got done for that. Maybe it's because you used the F word. It's probably because you used the F word, I'd say. Anyway, there's my big conspiratorial theory for you. Time will tell, ladies and gentlemen. Time will tell.
And we're the one that won the war. Okay, if it wasn't for us, that war, you would be speaking German right now, okay? We won the war, and you might be speaking Japanese too. I mean, you might be speaking a combination of both. We won the war, and we're the only country that didn't celebrate it. And we're going to be celebrating big on Saturday. We're going to have a lot of, and if there's any protester that wants to come out, they will be met with very big force. By the way, for those people that want to protest, they're going to be met with very big force. And I haven't even heard about a protest, but, you know, this is...
For those people that want to protest, I haven't heard about it. But, like, for those people that want to protest, I know who you are. I haven't heard about you, but I know who you are. I'm going to fuck you up.
People that hate our country, but they will be met with very heavy force.
Mr. President, one last
Thank you
question
very
on
much,
California.
everybody.
What a character. It's not going to happen, but if it does, it's hot. It's hot. Oh my God, it's so hot. I think Trump is so effective because he is so simple. Yes. That's what I was saying before. Like, you know, the left needs some good, simple slogans. Like, you know, for us to be really anti-capitalist and revolutionary, we need some fucking simple slogans to capture the hearts and minds. And yeah, he doesn't mince words. He repeats himself a lot. But, like, at least you know where you stand. All right. Like I've said before, not always down with democracy now. But, like, you know, they have a couple of good talkers, like people that they interview on this topic. So let's have a look at what Democracy Now! Has to say about the No King stuff. So I'm going to take a quick break. So we will be right back in a couple of minutes, and hold that thought, my fellow revolutionaries. I will be right back. All right. Let us see what they have to say about this. I might speed it up. Because like it's hard to sit through 20 minutes of democracy now. It can be. But it's let's see what they have to say, shall we? On this issue. I want to watch the Bernie clip at Indoctrination. What the hell happened to 2016 Bernie? Huh. You know what? Let's actually have a look at that. That's a good point. Where was it in the stream chat? Let's have a look here. Forias, you're onto something.
The reason why the MLK thing is prescient right now is because Bernie Sanders invoked it with a horrible old man take once again. Let's see what he had to say. Yeah, here is Bernie Sanders. Dr. King defeated racist government officials and ended segregation through discipline, nonviolent resistance. Defeating Trumpism, oligarchy, and authoritarianism requires that same level of discipline. Violent protests are counterproductive and play right into Trump's playbook. Except this was the attitude demonstrated towards MLK from mainstream media at the time. I plan to lead another nonviolent march tomorrow. Bernie Sanders, who was literally there. I don't mean this as a joke, like, haha, he's old. He was literally there. Okay? Bernie Sanders, who was arrested. Like, not only was he literally there, he was arrested at a nonviolent protest that the media at the time considered to be a violent, disruptive protest, is now taking this position. It's like, bro, you were there. Like, here is Bernie Sanders arrested at the Chicago civil rights protest. On August 12, 1963, Bernie was charged with resisting arrest for his role in the Chicago protests against the use of Willis wagons. He was found guilty and paid a fine of $25. Also, notice the gear that the cops had at the time. Like, this guy has a lung dart in his mouth, bro, while he's arresting Bernard Sanders. What the hell is this take? Hold on. I'm gonna quote retweet this. We used to be a proper country. I know. Well, not so proper even back then, but like the appropriate position to take in this circumstance is to say property damage is understandably a distraction. Property damage or hyper focusing on property damage is a distraction when real lives are at stake. Okay? Anyone who uses that as a reason to deploy the Marines, or anyone who hyper focuses that, is basically playing into Trump's hands more so than the people who are actually at those protests. Okay? You were literally there at the nonviolent protests that everyone considered to be violent and unpopular, so I have no idea what this statement does other than lead into the hysteria that gives Trump enough momentum to mobilize the Marines on U.S. soil illegally. It's extra crazy because
there you go. Hey? But like, I'm not sure exactly what the point is. Like, if you're saying like don't be violent, like most people talk about that. Most people talk about like don't let protests get violent. Like, it's pretty benign stuff. I thought he was actually calling out and saying that it was wrong, or saying these people shouldn't be protesting at all. Because like the real thing is like these people, these protesters, are blocking federal agents, like ICE agents, from doing their jobs. And so like they've brought in the military or the National Guard or something to allow other federal agents to do their jobs. So like I thought he was like, Bernie might have been like, you know, let these federal agents do their bidding, like do what they need to do kind of thing. Like don't obstruct the federal agents doing their thing. But it was like, don't be violent. Don't give them an excuse. Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Hassan is a streamer influencer. He thrives on hype, not hope or intellectualism. See, we have some very divided opinions on Hassan, obviously, in our little movement over here. Hey? what is violence though? Burning a bin in the street, blocking highways? Yeah, like I said, look, commensurate force and responses. So like if they step up with military presences and like they're shooting people with rubber bullets and they're like using smoke canisters to disperse crowds and stuff like that, like do whatever you think is appropriate expression that is commensurate with that. The word violence, how do you even define it in that context? And like violence really comes down to basically a use of force, and it's violent in the face of basically who has the ethical mandate to carry it out. So it's violent if you technically, by whoever the authority is, are deemed to not have ethical grounds to use it. So like, you know, it depends what side of the fence you sit on, whether you want to call out if someone's being violent or not. So like, yeah, it really depends. Yes, who, what side of an issue you sit on. That's why it's really actually part of identity politics, all of this stuff. So actually, I've got to agree with you there on that one, Ollie Atlas. This is just ID poll stuff, and like Bernie is like buying in on that. Hassan is buying in on that. Like, who says it's violent, really? They're both using violent force. It's just like who gets to decide whether it's moral or not. That like will give you a good indication of who's really being violent. But like, you know, I don't expect anything less. Like, I'm not defending Bernie Sanders here, but like I don't expect anything less from like an old politician to be like, please, no violence, don't give him a reason to bring in the Marines or something like that. Yeah, he's pretty establishment, as we have established on this stream. He's pretty establishment. So like, you know, you can't really expect much from him beyond that. Let's be honest. But yeah, I get the point, I guess. Which is like, you know, he was there when other people have called things violent, like when the mainstream media have called things violent, to paint their picture. But like, that was obviously just lies. Like, he was being arrested, Bernie Sanders, that is, because he was protesting stuff. He like chained himself to something. That's not really violent. That's just like obstructing something. Like, it's pretty peaceful if you chain yourself to something and become an obstruction. So like, yeah. I mean, that was a party line by Bernie. Yeah. Yeah, it seems like a party line, doesn't it? Avalava. I wouldn't be surprised if there ended up being oh wait, I read the wrong one. Oh no, I read that before. Or some helicopters or planes crashing into each other. Oh, so you mean like, sorry, I'd like to go right back, Avalava. Do you mean like actually, like you're talking about like being a large crash at the event because of like military personnel not doing their job properly, like at the parade? That's pretty crazy. That would be really, like, kind of ironic, wouldn't it? Or like, yeah, wouldn't that be fucking mental if that happened? Like, all of this, like, nonsense and craziness, and then, like, the military, like, and we saw that military guy, the spokesperson, the comms guy from the military, was like, yeah, it's really good practice for us, actually. Like, kind of thing. Like, imagine if they were practicing with this parade and, like, there was some big fuck up. Like, you know, they'd have him by the balls there if that actually happened. Not to wish anything like that, but if you're going to wish for something, it'd be like that. Like a couple of tanks going rogue and smashing into like, I don't know, the big stand where all the VIP customers are sitting. Or like smashing into each other. That'd be pretty funny. Imagine that World War III starts because someone forgot to press a button and something malfunctioned. 40% practice this at home. Oh my God. Anyway, that's enough with you, Hassan. It's the first time I've ever done Hassan on this stream. So, how many billionaires will be present in this parade? Hey? Like, I said it recently when we've been talking about this stuff. You know, it's not just about seizing the means. It's also a little bit propaganda by the deed. Just saying. And like, you know, what a good as any event to do so if you had a tank under your control. Peaceful parade for American exceptionalism, BS, to try to sway emotions to national pride, in my opinion. Peaceful parade for American exceptionalism. Yeah, pretty much. And like, this is peaceful. This parade will be peaceful. They bring it in the military. Big show. And like, this is state sanctioned show of force. That rogue tank should certainly be accidentally run into that VIP stand, to that stand. Yes? You know, just saying, if you're going to do something, like if it has to happen, you can have options. You can have options. All right, let's see what there is to say about the No Kings rally. All right, let's have a look-sees.
Following days of protest against federal immigration raids, Mayor Bass cited vandalism and looting of local businesses as the reason for the curfew.
Oh, this is the one!
President Trump's ordered the deployment of 700 Marines
they just
who will
knocked
be
him in the
arriving
head
in
while
Los
he was on the
Angeles today
floor.
to join thousands of members of the National Guard who've also been
And then
deployed to the
bang.
city. Speaking at Fort Bragg in North Carolina, President Trump criticized the California governor and Los Angeles mayor who opposed the deployments. Some of the troops in the audience booed at the mention of their names.
In Los Angeles, the governor of California, the mayor of Los Angeles, they're incompetent, and they paid troublemakers, agitators, and insurrectionists. They're engaged in this willful attempt to nullify federal law and aid the occupation of the city by criminal invaders. That's what it is. They're invaders, no different.
Protests against militarized immigration enforcement have spread to other cities like New York, Chicago, and Atlanta. This weekend, on Saturday, under the banner of No King's Day, at least 18,000 rallies have been organized nationwide, more and more joining every day. This coincides with a major military parade that will be taking place in the Capitol. Tanks and other armored vehicles are being transported to Washington, D.C. for the parade on June 14th, which is Donald Trump's 79th birthday and the U.S. Army's 25th anniversary. On Tuesday, President Trump threatened heavy force would be used against anyone who protests at the parade.
And we're going to be celebrating big on Saturday. We're going to have a lot of, and if there's any protester who wants to come out, they will be met with very big force. By the way, for those people that want to protest, they're going to be met with very big force. And I haven't even heard about a protest, but, you know, this is...
A lot is so good. Even if they're doing it, you know, not that I've heard anything about it. No, nothing to see here. But if they do, God, I love it. Gets me every time. Indoctrinating, that trampling is all because they kicked a tear gas canister back at them. Fuck. So heavy. So heavy. Voltateur, that girl that got shot point blank was a very sad video. They only showed it for a second here. I haven't seen that video. I don't know if I want to see it. But like, yeah, shit. Young Andy. He's talking so fast in that clip. Seems frustrated. In fairness, I have sped it up a little bit. But like, yes. He was speaking a little bit on edge, wasn't he? Eh? You can tell something that was up just then. Young Andy. Is this another person that we haven't seen in the stream before? If you are new to this stream, Young Andy, welcome. True, that explains it. Yeah, but like he's still, like we played it in real time just before and he was speaking a little bit edgy. But yes, if this is your first time, Young Andy, welcome to the stream. Let us know if it is your first time and I will give you the usual welcoming package. So yeah, please let us know. Let me just check something here. All right, let's get back to the video, shall we? Fast talking Trump. Yeah, I've come over from Friendly Geordie's pod a few weeks back. Welcome, Young Andy. I think we've picked up a few people from the pod now, in most recently, and then from the original time that I was on the pod back in the day. Voltaire says, yes, she was trying to get back to her apartment, but the police were in her way. She tried to talk to them, They let her pass, and then they just decided to shoot her. Fucking coppers, bro. There you go. There you go. Hey, I know what Jag would be saying right now. Well, welcome, young Andy, and like, come and join us on. I'm just about to get the stuff out. Come and join us over on the Discord. This is where we share propaganda and do our thing. So, yeah, come check out our propaganda machine over there. You know, have a look, maybe add to it yourself, do what you like. But like, if you're in the stream and like you're getting censored, which happens a lot, especially with topics like this, my God. If you're getting censored, don't keep smashing stuff into the chat because we'll all get kicked off. Go over to the Discord. There's a censored comment section and a stream chat over there, and you can get comments in that way. That's the general house rules around here. So welcome. Hope you enjoy.
People that hate our country, but they will be met with very heavy force.
Protest organizers are encouraging participants to go to Philadelphia instead of...
What it is, Xanthophyll says, FYI, Democracy Now! Interview with Jill Stein. She lies about needing an interpreter being at the Putin table when everyone present speaks fluent English. Do you seriously get individual chats censored? Just watch. Scroll up through the chat and see like how many people have already been like, oh, I just got censored again. Go check out the censored comments. It is fucking wild. I remember, look, when it first started happening like a few months ago now, and like we just kept getting kicked. Kept getting kicked off streams. Like we'd be like, I don't know, what, an hour into a stream, and like we'd all get kicked off, and like we're all like, you know, getting all conspiratorial about it, being like, you know, YouTube's filtering us, YouTube's like censoring us, and then we figured out it was basically us bombing the chat, like kind of thing, and just like trying to get our conversation through because we're trying to speak to each other. So we got a Discord set up just for this. So yes, it's fucking wild. Where's the Shakespearean revolutionary Hugo Weaving when you need him? Yeah, watch out for Democracy Now! Is the call. But let's see what they have to say.
Washington, D.C. For more on the latest news, the troop deployments, and the planned rallies this weekend, we're joined by two guests. Leah Greenberg is co-founder and co-executive director of Indivisible. The group is organizing the No Kings Day protests on June 14th. And Jojo Sweat, a former Marine and the organizing director for the veterans group Common Defense, who will also be taking part in the No Kings Day protests planned in over 1,800 cities. We welcome you both to Democracy Now! Leah Greenberg, if you could begin by explaining your group Indivisible is organizing this protest.
We need to do a pod on V for Vendetta. It's so relevant. It's so relevant. So now. Yeah, very interesting, actually. That's not a bad idea. It's good to relive some of those stories, isn't it?
These mass protests across the country. Explain why.
Well, when we heard and got the news that Donald Trump was planning this military parade, we understood it as part of a broader effort to project power, to chill dissent, to cement authoritarian control around this country. Right? This is not just a parade; it's part of a bigger campaign that is involved attacking state government, or attacking the power of states, attacking civil society, going after labor leaders like David Huerta, the president of SEIU, who in California, who was arrested while peacefully protesting ICE detentions or ICE kidnappings. What we're seeing is a wholesale effort to assert dominance and power, from sending troops into LA completely unnecessarily and illegally, to having this military parade in DC for his birthday. And so what we feel like in this moment is really important is for folks to understand he may have his fascist theatrics in DC, but real power comes from people everywhere, all over the country. And so that's why we called for the No Kings protests. And what we've seen, we've got over 1,900 protests now all over the country. We are seeing a skyrocketing number of people who are showing up, who are asking, what can I do, who are horrified by what is happening in LA and who want to stand up. And what we're going to show him on June 14th is that real power lies in the people, lies in the consent of the governed, not in a pageant for your birthday in Washington, D.C.
I wanted to bring Jojo Sweat into this conversation, former Marine with the group Common Defense right now. First, I wanted to get your response to...
What a sick name for a Marine. Her name is Jojo Sweat. Hey? Like, you know, if I was serving with the Jojo Sweat, I'd be like ramping up the use of that last name as much as possible. And like Jojo as well, like G.I. Joe. Jojo Sweat. Yeah, it's so good. Oh, Avalava, you're talking about like, yeah, how weird was that footage with like Trump at that military kind of rally or whatever? And like Avalava says, those troops are trained to toe the line, remain disciplined and loyal to those above them. Of course they boo. Yeah, like when he's talking about like the governor of California and the mayor of Los Angeles, and like they're all like boo kind of thing. Like all I could think of was like actually how kind of unprofessional those soldiers kind of looked. They're all like laughing, they had their phones out and stuff like that. They didn't look very disciplined, like in the traditional militaristic sense. That was the vibe I was getting. They just looked like a bunch of kids who were like waiting for someone to basically tell them to go out and risk their lives for something. They really did just look like an unruly bunch of kids, actually. Done. Sure. Are you talking about like in getting yourself? Oh, reaction recommendations. Oh, okay. Where should I post the link to the video? Oh, you've done it. Okay. That sounds like a Marine from Starship Troopers. I know, right? Jojo Sweat. So good. Zelanthophile says, trusting vets and active military industrial complex employees, call them what they are. They can sit this one out. Their oath to the corporate profiteers, not history. Damn. Savage. Thought she said Jojo Swag for a second. All right. Let's see. Voltator on the maiden piece of propaganda that's been put out. Let's see what you got for us. Oh, it's a piece from Reddit. Fuck, we haven't had a Reddit piece of evidence put on the chat for a while. I'm always cautious about Reddit. But why the fuck not? Let's go.
This guy right there. Look at him. I want us to focus on this guy right there. Look at him. Trigger happy as fuck. So I just showed you him, right? Look at that. Oh, what's passing by? Where's our money going, right? Where are our tax dollars going, right? Right? Yeah. So we've got trigger happy fucking bitch over here. Look at. They're telling her to move, but that's a public sidewalk. They're telling her to move. Watch, if they shoot her.
Whoa, what the fuck? Can you guys hear this?
Holy fuck.
That was pretty fucking...
Come here.
That was pretty close, man.
Sit down. Where'd it get you? Really, fuck off. She's not doing anything. Come on. We're moving, assholes. Oh, you got it. Hang on. I just need to get out of their sight. Here. I got some supplies in my bag. Sit down.
Jesus fucking Christ. Have you come across this one in Dr. Nathan?
They shot her. Yeah. Point blank. I literally just got it on video. They're gonna shoot. We're moving! We're moving! Stop! She's injured! Come on. We gotta get across the street. Come on. We gotta go across the street. Where are you going?
I live here.
Okay.
I live here.
Come on. They just literally shot her point blank. No, she's not okay. Yeah, try right here, and let me just look at it, unless you want to go inside.
Watch your legs, officers!
Holy fuck, you guys. Okay.
Watch your legs, officers!
Here.
Far out. I don't even know what to say. Okay, we'll say this, actually. Voltateur, welcome to the propaganda machine. That's been one of the more shocking contributions from a newbie. So you take the cake for today. Congratulations. That was pretty fucked up, man. And like, she was what, trying to get home, and so they just shot her. Fuck. You know, this is what Ollie Atlas was talking about. Hey, detached city cops don't give a fuck. And like, you know, most of them, like, let's be honest, or a lot of them would like just be looking for an excuse to do some of this stuff. I remember when I used to work as a DJ back in the day, I used to interact with a lot of security guards, and you know, like most of them just kind of normal, I guess you would say. But like this one time I went out and like the security guard came up to me to talk to me about event stuff. And like he said, look, if anyone's pissing you off today, just let me know, because I really feel like breaking someone's face. So like, you know, just call me over, because I really feel like punching someone today and beating the crap out of someone. I've had a shitty day. So just like, let me know. So like, yeah, I'm not surprised when like you give people a mandate to use violence. Let's call it what it is. Indoctrination. That's not mince words. And like, you know, they get a kick out of using it too. They're not using it because like they have no other reason. They're looking for a fucking excuse to do it. So like, you know, that guy was just like, nah, I want to take a shot at this chick. And he did. Yeah, I've seen the Channel 9 reporter hit, or the British guy hit in the head. Yeah, I saw that one. Yeah, that's crazy. Left their brains in the dryer at home. Imagine being a Palestinian. Yeah, I know, right? Like, have you heard about all the stuff that goes on, like with the, you know, the aid group that is like set up by like Israel and America and stuff like that? And like they have kind of, they set up food drives. So like the Palestinians obviously are starving. And then like they set up these like areas where like they funnel people into these areas to get food. And then out of like nowhere, the IDF just like unleashes the fury on all these people trying to like scramble to get food. And they like kill 100 people at a time. Like they open fire on like men, women, children, whatever. But they're like, you know, kind of squeezing them into small areas, and they're like desperate to eat. So like they're fucking desperate. And like, you know, there's no rubber bullets either. Young Andy, it's honestly kind of confronting to watch. Yes it is. So many videos are coming out, it's scary. Most of these cops aren't from there. That's by design, yes. And Dr. Nathan Xantheville, the media is asking if protesters are from... Yeah, I know, right? The audacity, right? The media is asking if protesters are from out of town. Yeah. Terry Shaw. Should be all the arseholes are out day. Folks, everyone doesn't feel the same way. God bless our president and keep him safe. Should be all the arseholes are out day. Folks, everyone doesn't feel the same way. God bless our president and keep him safe. You tell it how it is, Terry Shaw. Tell it how it is. And like explain a little bit more the first sentence if you can. If you would be so kind, Terry Shaw. Why should it be all the assholes are out day? If you could explain that a little bit more. Because if you're referring to the LA protests, it's been going on for a series of days. So if you could divulge a little bit more with your cutting insight, we'd all be better for it, I'm sure. All right, let's continue with the video, shall we? Let him cook chat. I want to hear this. Yeah, I want to hear it too.
Marines being deployed to the streets of Los Angeles. At this point, 700 of them, though President Trump has now said that National Guard and Marines will be deployed around the country. And also get your response as a former Marine to what we're calling this parade. But in fact, it's more than 24 M1 Abrams tanks, each weighing more than 60 tons. This is why it's costing something like tens of millions of dollars, this parade in Washington, to shore up the streets. The question is if they will be damaged by this heavy military hardware. They're going to be going down Constitution Avenue near the White House in a procession that until recently was not part of the 250th anniversary of the Army's programming, accompanied by scores of infantry, fighting vehicles, heavy artillery weaponry, plus some 6,600 soldiers as helicopters fly overhead. So if you could talk first about the Marine deployment as a former Marine, and then about this massive show of force that people usually identify with heavily militarized societies like, military parades in North Korea.
First, thank you for having me. And related to Marines and National Guard being deployed to LA, I think it's obviously a terrible idea, especially because it is not the idea of the leadership of the state to invite them to be there. Now, the National Guard has a function and works well within the states that it supports, but by the call and guidance of the governor there in the state, which hasn't been completed. And so it's kind of an overstretch for the president of the United States to be involved in states affairs in that way when not requested. The other factor about the Marine Corps is that that is not the purpose of our Marine Corps. That is not why the Marine Corps exists. And when I was a Marine, if I wasn't in a combat or war scenario, then I was in a humanitarian scenario. And that's when we're, fixing everything that we've destroyed and trying to rebuild, not things that we would want to do on U.S. soil. And does it make me feel good that it's the president of the United States that is requesting this type of armed reaction on its citizens, that is citizens that are actually practicing their rights that they have here in the United States. As far as the parade, it's an egregious overspend. It is a showing of his ego. It is also his birthday. It is not just the Army's 250th year of service. It's actually the Marine Corps' birthday later on this year. So we don't have these individual parades or support of parades by the military to the president like you've seen in North Korea. We just went through 2 crazy quarters of this new administration with them giving us Doge and on the pretense that we need to save money as a country and that we're broke. And so to say those things and enact a Doge and talk about cutting 83,000 jobs at the VA and Medicare and care for everyday Americans, but then to host this parade in Washington, D.C., where there's not even really roads to support this. We're spending an egregious amount of money. And for what? A birthday celebration that is completely unnecessary.
If you could talk more about the amount of money, for example, the 45 million. It started at 20 million, but now it's gone up, as you point out, then yet thousands of jobs have been lost through Doge. If you could talk about the healthcare and cuts to veterans' healthcare.
Yeah, these cuts to veterans' healthcare are already showing up, actually, especially in rural communities or with veterans that are using specialty services specifically for cancer treatment. We're talking to those veterans already who are being affected, who are being denied care, who have lost their psychiatrists, their therapists on staff. And so turning around and spending that money in the face of America for a parade for a president does not seem like you really care. And we were in DC just the first week of May, trying to interface and speak with Secretary Doug Collins. And in fact, he actually ran from us when we asked him the question about cutting 83,000 jobs and then having a parade for the president. But a lot of these representatives don't want to answer those questions, or they want to relate it to recruiting. And I don't think that this is...
Yeah, that was the message that we got from that other guy, the military comms dude before in the Wall Street Journal thing. He was just like, this is great. This is going to be like a big recruiting drive kind of thing. So, like, that's how they justify it. We're going to make the military look sexy. And, like, we're all there to, basically kiss the ring of Donald Trump. But, like, that's going to make the military look sexy. That you guys join this and you'll be used at the political whim and disposal of the Emperor God King, Donald Trump.
What recruiting dollars should be spent on.
is working on is that of Black veteran Marlon Paris from Trinidad and Tobago, who was detained in Phoenix, Arizona, just days after Trump's inauguration in January. This is his wife, Tanisha Hartwell Paris.
I am having to visit my husband through a glass window, and I do not know when he's coming home.
So could you tell us more about the case?
Yeah, I'm really close with the Paris family in Arizona. As you reported, Marlon was picked up several days after the Trump administration took office and after their immigration policies went into play. Although Marlon Paris had committed a crime, he served his sentence. He left that system and became a viable member of our society. You know, once he had adequate treatment, once he got access to his VA services after being deployed to war several times, and I want to stress that his crime was a nonviolent crime. The minute Trump became in office, Marlon Paris was leaving his home in his neighborhood in Phoenix, Arizona to go to work and was just randomly targeted, picked up, and detained, and has been detained since January 22nd. His court date continues to be pushed out so that we can try to mitigate whatever is happening with his paperwork that's causing all of this. There are been many missteps that have happened within his immigration process, but one thing that we know for sure is that he has a letter of no interest, which is a letter that you get when any situation comes up in your life where you're eligible for deportation. So he got that no interest letter at the end of his court case and serving his time. In addition to that, his green card was renewed after that in 2017, and it's not even set to expire until 2027. But there was an error when he was coming back from vacation into the United States in 2023, I believe, and they confiscated his green card. And he's been trying to reobtain his green card through legal representation since that happened. He was allowed re-entry into the country, but they took away his documents. And in the fight to try to get those back, suddenly this man has been detained under the new administration, and we haven't been able to rectify the situation. And he's currently detained in Florence, and our next court date is in August.
Yeah, looking for any reason to disqualify any military person that might look like they could oppose what's about to happen. Classic. Yeah, but like, you know, isn't it scary as well? Isn't it like, I don't know. I feel like, especially, you know, like I'm assuming most countries are like this, but like, you know, especially Western nations, like military personnel, veterans, people that have actually served for your country are held up in such high esteem because like they've put their body on the line and like they've been potentially, you know, they've been in circumstances where they could pay the ultimate sacrifice. And like what she's describing here is like a dude who basically joined the military, became a soldier because they were promised that they would get citizenship. And then like they didn't even get that. They were deployed multiple times. And then, like, they still didn't get citizenship. And, like, this dude's a person who served is walking to work one morning and gets picked up by ICE agents. And it's just like, you know, like, this is ICE agents, federal agents, going after somebody who's trained as a soldier and has fought for the country. And they just, like, whip them up and throw them in prison. Like, you know, like the contradiction, like, you know, they valorize military personnel, but like after they're finished with them, fucking gone. See you later. And like, it doesn't even matter. Like if they're undocumented, if they haven't done their paperwork or something like that, fucking who cares if you serve the country? You are just cannon fodder like the rest of the plebs out there. You're gone. There's no use for you anymore. Fucking see you later. It's so mercenary. It's so mercenary. This censorship is crazy. I hope I don't get flagged or something. I think you get flagged, but like we just get shut down after a while. So like, you know, like there are just certain words that we can't say. And like, you know, like I'll give you an example. We were watching the federal election in Australia. The election. So not like protests, not like something about like Palestine and is not rail, like just the election results that were coming through. And because we were talking about the election and like these are political figures, like people weren't even able to speak about like what was going on election night because it was political. And so like we had to open up the censored comments to get stuff through because it was just getting picked up in a political dragnet. But it was just like commenting on like how many votes were being counted and stuff like that. It's like I think it's just their dragnet. It's just ridiculous. Have you put something in? Again, I have been online since I was a child. Long before October 7, there were videos of IDF abusing and shooting Palestinians, going through checkpoints, and in the West Bank. Testing ground for US weaponry. 100%. 100%. Oh, yeah. And, like, this has been going on for generations, too. Like, let's be honest. Ollie Alice says, Gavin Newsom failed his people during the fires, and he failed his people now. Yeah. Yeah. I guess you can say that, can't you? Yeah. Well, like, you know, they're suing, aren't they? They're suing Trump or something like that. Not that it's really going to do much, but whatever.
So if you could explain more fully, Jojo, about the number of people who go into the military hoping it will help them become U.S. citizens, and yet seeing that people are being deported after they've served in the U.S. military.
Yeah, it's thousands. I was actually a recruiter during the time that we were recruiting for the Forever Wars when I came back from that war. And so I was a recruiter in Denver, Colorado from late 2003 to 2006. We were giving away at that time, which was totally unprecedented for the Marine Corps, a 2-year contract to join the United States military because we were in an active war. And what that means is that instead of serving 4 years and then 4 years in the IRR, you would do 2 years on active duty and have 6 years on the IRR. And many talking points when we were selling that program to join the United States military was talking about a pathway to citizenship. As a recruiter and somebody who used to have to compile all the documents of anybody that I needed to enter into the Marine Corps and send to the MEPS, it floored me to discover that after the MEPS and medical process and verifying who you are as a person of entry into the service, generally the buck stops there. And it becomes then the onus of the service member to find the way for that pathway to citizenship. And if they do, and they have a good command that helps set them up to do the paperwork, they may get several appointments that are scheduled in future time. And then when that service member deploys or gets reassigned, that is the farthest thing from their mind, because in their mind, they're thinking, well, I joined the service with a pathway to citizenship. They have all my documents. They know everything about me. They must be taking care of it. When in fact, the United States military has no impact or no design on helping you actually get that citizenship. So unfortunately, a lot of people leave the service thinking, I'm a U.S. citizen because I served in the United States military and I have this beautiful document called a DD-214. And when in fact that is not the case. And when they find themselves in a situation that makes them eligible for deportation, that is generally when they find out that they are eligible for deportation and are not a U.S. citizen.
So, Leah Greenberg, let's go back to the resistance to Trump, what Trump is doing, the protests that you have planned.
That's fucking crazy. Like, I would think that, like, that just automatically validates you as a citizen. Like, yeah, do your fucking paperwork kind of thing. But, like, you know, what a trick, man. Just to, like, grab souls to throw as cannon fodder in your, like, wars that supply your military-industrial complex and your imperialistic aims. Yeah. Come and join and you can become a U.S. citizen if you make it back alive. And if you do, make sure you do paperwork, but no one's going to actually follow you up on it. So, like, we'll let you think that you're a U.S. citizen, but, like, you're completely disposable. Fucking crazy.
Across the country, the No King's Day protests. I mean, in this case, the military parade that's happening on Saturday is one he wanted to have during his first term, inspired in 2017 by the Bastille Day parade that he witnessed in France. But at the time, D.C. officials and the military resisted, with Defense Secretary at the time, Jim Mattis, reportedly saying that he would rather, quote, swallow acid. So if you could talk about what you see.
Did you hear that? So the military personnel at the time of his first presidency, when he asked for a big fuck off military parade, they said they would rather swallow acid. So obviously all those people have been chopped in the second round. He's learned a thing or two, Trumpy boy, from the first time around. He's basically fired all those people that wouldn't be loyal to him. And so, like, here we are, military parade in hand. Did the victims of the military-industrial complex employees ever get trauma care for their PTSD and health care for their dismemberments and disfigurements? Good fucking question. My gut response to that is no, absolutely not. Like I said, cannon fodder, very mercenary application.
As greater capitulation now to Trump among government and military officials?
I think you're speaking to a phenomenon that we're seeing across all facets of society, which is that in 2017, there was resistance to Trump from a bunch of different places, right? Everyone from federal employees to members of his own party, sometimes to state and city governments, to business, media, corporations, higher education. Folks pushed back and held up like whatever little corner of the norms of liberal democracy that they were supposed to hold up. And what we've seen this time around that I think has been one of the dominant themes of the last 6 months has been just an enormous degree of people obeying in advance, people treating Trump as the new normal and trying to go along to comply to secure their own safety and position in under this would-be dictator. And this is what we talk about when we talk about this internally. We talk about the aura of inevitability, the idea that this guy is in power, he's going to stay in power. You just gotta make your peace with it and figure out how to secure your own safety. And I think that's what we've seen across a bunch of facets of society, and part of how we get something like a military parade, which is that anybody in the military who was prepared to tell Donald Trump this is a bad idea is saying no. That DC government is in a fundamentally different posture than it was in 2017, and it's just part of a broader phenomenon, right? California does not want the National Guard. Nobody in DC wants wants a military parade. The only person who wants all of these theatrics, all of these authoritarian tactics, these militarized crackdowns on our communities, the person who wants this is Donald Trump. And so fundamentally, we've got to collectively generate the.
No, that's not true. Okay, because we've got Terry Shaw, who thinks that like all of this stuff is good, and I think it was Sylvia. Well, they obviously are big fans of all this sort of stuff. So, that's a bit of an exaggeration that it's only Trump that wants this. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that don't. They want to see a bit of a military parade.
The pushback that kicks other parts.
And a few people on Craigslist too. That are organising themselves so they can get out. Orgies don't get organised on Craigslist anymore. You organise crowds for military parades
of society, the other people who are responsible for pushing back wherever they are back into gear. We've got to, by showing up in large numbers, generate the conditions for courage that let other people push back too.
So finally, Leah Greenberg, if you can talk about No King's Day. I mean, before I said 18,000, but I think the number is 1,800 cities and towns and villages and counting. But how you're organizing, and also your decision not to hold a major protest in Washington, D.C. on Saturday, as Trump threatens to use heavy military force against protesters, but how the organizing is taking place.
Yeah, that's right. Well, look, Indivisible is a movement of regular people. We are working with partners and an extraordinary coalition across the entire pro-democracy coalition, from veterans groups like our friends at Common Defense, labor unions, civil rights organizations, immigrant rights groups, faith leaders. We really want to pull in as many people as possible into this collective moment of peaceful defiance of a would-be dictator. Now, these events are organized by people in your community, right? They are overwhelmingly volunteers who are putting them together in order to create a community space for us to push back. There are, as you said, there are actually 1,900 on the map as of this morning, and it continues to rise. We anticipate hitting over 2,000 events around the country by the end of today. If you are pretty much wherever you are probably about less than 30 minutes away from your closest No Kings event. They have incredible coverage, including in really red areas where you might not expect there to be resistance. That what we're finding is that this is everywhere. So if you are interested, you can go to nokings.org and you can look on our map and find the event that is closest to you. If there is not an event that is close to you, there is still time to organize one yourself. Pull together a few folks in your community and collectively say, we're here to declare No Kings, stop the raids, stand together as communities, and reclaim our democracy.
No Kings. There it is. I think I can get down with that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, no fucking kings. Like, that was the whole point of like this democratic experiment, the whole point of bourgeois society and revolutionizing itself to ensure that you could have an exchange society built on the idea of equality. Now, when I say equality, I mean it in the exchange sense. You could have a society where people come together as equals in a marketplace and exchange with one another in a constructive way and a structured environment. And like, you couldn't do that when you have authoritarian regimes that, like, through their own will and dictates can basically control society and wipe people out, wipe out their freedoms, wipe out their civil liberties, just like that. It's not good for the economy. But here is the thing. That was when capitalism was very young, and it needed the market to help proliferate itself throughout the human race and across every corner of the globe. Capitalism has done that. It has dominated the world. It is the main mode of production without a doubt, and it is probably arguable that there is no places in the world now that don't work as exchange societies. Therefore, the capitalistic mode of production predominates the entirety of the human race now. And so, like, you know what? Maybe democracy isn't necessary anymore. And so, like, that's why we have been looking at the ideas of the neo-reactionaries. And, like, there is going to be a conservative push to move away from democracy because it's just full of libtards and snowflakes anyway. And we need to clamp down and start looking at national interests to survive in a world that is not going to be democratic anymore, not looking to open itself up for free trade purposes, but a world that is looking to basically isolate itself and look after little regional bases, let's call them, regional economic activity hubs throughout the globe, and that'll all be done through like strongman authoritarian regimes. And so like you have the ideological backdrop of that, which is neo-reactionary culture. And like that is going to be the thing that I think supersedes neoliberalism. Neoliberalism is just a new form of liberalism, which takes the civil liberties away and hands over power and more power to the state in order to, I guess, impose massive austerity measures on the populace to allow total corporate control. And like democracy, you don't need democracy anymore really to make that corporate control work. You'll have a merging together of the corporate sector and the state, and that will be backed by CEO kings. And like, you know, this display at the moment is exactly what this is all about. It's about we are seeing authoritarianism trying to manifest itself in the citadel of world capitalism. It's trying to bring itself to life. And like there are violent convulsions happening as it tries to take material form here. It's really going to be a violent struggle, I would say. And like violent in whatever way you see and use that term and however you define it. But like there will be violent convulsions as one system takes power over the other. And like, you know, I guess we will be the people that decide who dominates. Will democracy live to see another day? Or will we be living in authoritarian regimes faster than we thought possible? In like the Western sphere, in especially the Anglosphere, but you know, we will see. Indoctrination says, no kings, no masters. Dr. Tyrano, would you consider Xi a king? Dr. Tyrano, I don't know if you've been here before, this is your first time, let us know and I'll give you the usuals. But like if there's a legitimate question or if you are baiting me, I would like to know. Indoctrination, it was a civil rights slogan. No kings, no masters, much like no gods, no masters. MysterE, that's right. And that is one of the staples of the anarchist movement. And I'm sure, to be honest, Farias, no kings, no masters is a adaptation of the old anarchist phraseology there. But like, would I consider Xi a king? Like in the context of if you describe like someone like Curtis Yarvin does, that like a king or a monarch is anyone that has all executive power centralized in them and granted to them by like some type of board, like an aristocracy or a nobility class. Yes, you could argue. A legitimate question. I'm curious about your thoughts. Thoughts on one-party democracy. Yeah, look, if you take the neo-reactionary definition of what a king is, like 100% Xi Jinping is a king. in that regard. He has been given executive authority by the highest circle of the one-party system. So the people that really kind of call the shots at the top, the highest deputies in that system. And like he's also using his position and his post ensured that he now has, you know, an interminable reign in that position. And so like you have to ask, you have to describe it as an autocratic style of leadership, especially if the democratic functions within that one party system, which are democratic, they're not liberal democratic, but they are democratic, cannot remove him from power, then he is autocratic. And just like in the same way that a monarch could be described as autocratic, whether that's hereditary, like most monarchical situations, whether that's through bloodline, like most monarchical situations, it's not there. So the devil in the detail is like how you describe a monarch, really. But like if you describe monarch generally as someone who is autocratic, then you can easily make the case that he's kind of like a king. He's running the show, and he has taken steps to ensure that he has that level of control indefinitely. Now, there's other characteristics that put him on the level of king as well. Like, I am not saying that I've investigated this, but from the sources that I have heard talk about his current situation and the way that he runs the party and the way that he runs the information that comes to him, he has actually purged a lot of the upper ranks of the party from anyone who is potentially critical of his actions or would have the analytical mindset to be able to tell him what's really going on. And like this does happen in authoritarian regimes where you have like kind of a megalomaniac as a ruler. You have people that become increasingly anxious or worried about like telling them like what the problem is, like, you know, the emperor's new clothes kind of story. Like they're worried about like saying the truth in front of that person and like painting the picture. And so like they give them false information about what's really happening. And so like from my understanding, like Xi has set up a system where like there's people that are so loyal around him, like they don't feed him the right information about what's going on potentially on the ground. And so he's not getting good information. And so like there's a lot of monarchs throughout history that have kind of been subjected to that style of arrangement where like people just, you know, in their court or whatever, in their entourage, just pay them lip service and tell them sweet nothings, just to help kind of, I don't know, pander to their ego as opposed to giving them constructive criticism so they can govern better. And so like that's a very monarchical trait, I would say. People more worried about not angering the king as opposed to giving them good information so they can govern properly. So it's an interesting question, Dr. Tyrano. But I'm not sure how I can really answer that without, I guess, knowing more about the inner workings of their party. Sounds much easier to buy a monarch than a government. Yes. And like, you know, Elon Musk has demonstrated that. If you can really refer to Trump as the CEO king. We've got Amber in here with 2 hearts saying, thank goodness Trump has already put an end to the wars in Ukraine and Gaza within the first 24 hours of taking office like he promised during his campaign. That's a pretty fucking funny comment, actually. And it's a pretty good fucking point, too. I was thinking about that the other day because, like, I think he had another call with Putin the other day to try and figure something out. And, like, yeah, he was like, you know, when I'm elected, like, that war's over in a day. Like, it'll be, you know, a matter of hours, really. One call is all it takes, bro, and the war in the Ukraine will be over. And so, like, we haven't really seen that, to be honest. We haven't seen that at all. And it's like getting under his skin a little bit because he can't tell Putin what to do. So, Amber, Dr. Tyrano, I believe this is the first time you guys have been in this stream. If that is the case, I'm going to do my usual housekeeping for you. and introduce you or invite you to the Discord. So please go over to the Discord. This is our propaganda machine here in the MysterE movement. And, drop your propaganda, go and have a look at the current propaganda that's in there, and help us add to the knowledge and the story that we're developing in this movement. So go over there and be a part of things over on Discord. And we're going to leave it there for today. I think it's been a very interesting stream, very eye-opening stream. I hope you are across the No Kings protests that are going to be scheduled for tomorrow for us and a couple of days' time for the Americans. So if you're an American and you're watching this, good luck to all of you. I hope the weekend is fruitful. I hope some crazy shit doesn't go down. But if it's going to go down, I hope it is as Avalava had described it, as we were talking about before. That would be the best way for it to go down, let's be honest. But for all of the Australians, I can speak on behalf of them and our Anzac friends and the New Zealanders or anyone else that's watching it. Our hearts go out to you. Solidarity. America seems like a pretty fucking crazy place at the moment. So I really hope that the No Kings protests go down well, and like you guys send a really good fucking message to people that think that they can turn our societies into authoritarian capitalistic nightmares. Like, it's already capitalistic. Do we really need to go down the authoritarian measure? But if that's what it takes to spur on the revolution within the people, then fucking so be it. So fucking be it. But let's not go there unless we have to. Those are my final thoughts on the matter. Let's not go authoritarian unless we really have to. If this is the only way that that capitalism can help itself survive, that is a big warning sign to all of us, and this is why we are revolutionaries. This is what capitalism will do, some incredible things to continue as a mode of production. And if authoritarianism is the way to go, literally replacing democracy with this type of shit, then we got to do something about it. We got to do something about it fast. Because under liberal democratic societies, we have political positions and a role to play. But under authoritarianism, we are completely made politically redundant. Until we take matters into our own hands. There's levers at the moment to do things peacefully, I believe. Revolutionary avenues to take that are peaceful, but not under authoritarianism. So we are running out of options, ladies and gentlemen. We're running out of options quite fast, it would seem. So if you are new, please, like I said, go over to the Discord, and also please go and join up to the Patreon. You can sign up there. Please become a member for free so I can get notifications to you. It's really important. If you're liking this content, you want to get actual notifications, go through Patreon. And if you can financially support the movement, that would be great. It helps us make this content. So thank you, everybody, today. So many people to thank, and I'm going to go through the list because that's what I do. Indoctrination, thank you. 4AS, as always. Xander Phil, thank you for being an American correspondent. Ollie Atlas, you too. I really appreciate the insights. Who else have we got? Oh, Voltateur. Thank you for our New Zealand correspondent. Thanks for the propaganda you dropped today. That was confronting. But it's always good to be confronted with reality. Who else have I missed? We've had a few newbies in there. Extra newbies. Young Andy, thanks for your contributions. I hope you joined the Discord. I hope you join up to get some notifications through Patreon as well. Who else? Amber, same goes out to you. So thank you for everybody who's contributed, and we will be back on Monday with another live stream, and there may be an impromptu one over the weekend if I can find some time and the stars align with the time difference in America, because I want to try and watch the stream of the No Kings protests. So we might do an impromptu one over the weekend. So thank you, everybody, and please remember, as always, I am, you are, we are a mystery. See you next time. Cheers.